What is it going to be like watching the Tom Thibodeau coach Knicks play in the playoffs?
It's going to be a lot of fun. He's got so much experience. So does Nate McMillan. He has a lot of experience in the playoffs too. But I love the way Tom Thibodeau manages a game. You know, you always panic because you don't like the lineup he's playing at the end of the game. And I'm just like, trust Tom Thibodeau. He's going with the guy that he trusts today. It could be a different guy tomorrow. Sometimes R.J. Barrett plays in the fourth quarter. Sometimes he doesn't. He's going to play the guys that he knows gives him the best chance to win. That's what I love about the way he coaches. That's why I like having him calling the reins in this matchup.
All right, so each coach has a lot of playoff coaching experience. How about the comparison here, Alan? What do you think?
Well, what you don't see are the main guys like Trae Young and Julius Randle and R.J. Barrett and DeAndre Hunter and John Collins. Like you're not seeing those guys. You're seeing a lot of the supporting cast guys, except Capella. Capella might be, and obviously Derrick Rose as well. The two guys that are obviously very important to this team, but. You got to get experience, right? You got to have your first time. And these two teams, that's why I feel it's so even matched, because you do have that inexperience factor. Who is going to be the guy who making his playoff debut, which will have his playoff coming out party?
Monica, how about an X factor? You have a tendency to put the hex on things. But
wow!
We're going to give you.
This is how you introduce me to the Knicks audience for the playoffs?
Goodness.
Listen, I will say this. As we looked at that graphic just now in terms of playoff experience, I thought very uniquely about the position that these guys have had playoff experiences in. And D. Rose, to me, is a big deal for this team. He's led a team in the playoffs. He's had success. He's obviously been great for us this year. I think that's an X factor.
Monica, during the regular season, the Knicks won all 3 games against these Hawks.
What you have, though, guys, is main players on both teams making their playoff debut. Mm-hmm. New experience for both of these teams. And also, as you typically get with a 4-5, very evenly matched.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Wally talked about Julius Randle in particular, but when I think about this one defensively for the Knicks, the task is that Trae Young, Clint Capella, lob, pick and roll situation.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be, to defend that. We're going to talk defense, obviously, guys, right? Because you have Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks defense that was the best in the league. And one of the things that they had a hard time against in the last meeting with Atlanta was stopping that pick and roll with Trae Young and Clint Capella. So we got to see what they come up with this week.
All right, when we talk about Julius Randle, in the 3 games, Wally, against the Hawks, he averaged 37.3 points per game. That's the best he scored against any team all year.
I know, and they have no answer for him. They have no matchup to guard him. They tried multiple different guys. John Collins has no chance to guard him. So what are the Hawks going to do? They're going to devise their game plan strictly to slow down Julius Randle. And Tom Thibodeau has to be ready for that. And that's what the playoffs are all about. I mean, you can take a guy out of a series by double teaming him every time he touches the ball, by making sure that he doesn't get into any rhythm. The Hawks allowed Julius Randle to play a lot of one-on-one. They didn't bring a lot of double teams. They didn't want Julius Randle to create stuff for all the other guys on the Knicks. Now, the Knicks are shooting very well from the three-point line of late. I anticipate the Hawks might guard Julius Randle the same way. I don't think they want to bring those doubles. I don't think they want to get other guys those open looks at the three-point line, because that's when the Knicks can really start getting going as a team.
Alan and Monica, 3 games against the Hawks. Randle, 28 points, tied a season high with 44 points, and in the third meeting scored 40 points.
And shot over 50% from three-point range in all 3 games, so he's got that part of his game as well. But Monica, we all know teams aren't taking the left hand away. He figures out a way to get back to that left hand. You heard Wally mention it. John Collins struggled defending him. So they use Solomon Hill, who's got a lot of playoff experience and a lot of physicality to try to come in games. You almost want that because he's not going to bring the offense that John Collins can bring.
It's true, and Julius makes teams pay when they foul him, right? Like, you don't want to give up a shot. In game 2, I believe he was 9 of 12 from the free throw line, and so we've seen him distribute the basketball. So the double could be very, very costly with the way that this team is shooting for sure.
Yeah, and obviously on the other side of this, the other star player in this matchup is going to be Trae Young. We've talked about him a little bit. Let's go deeper into him because Trae Young is a guy, again, making his playoff debut, a high draft pick, known for three-point shooting, known for shooting from anywhere on the floor. But what we got to pay attention to with him and his pick-and-roll partner, Clint Capella, if you don't stop the ball or you try to stop him, well, the big comes and helps. And if not, Monica, he's slippery.
Han, you nailed it. And we were talking in the green room a little bit. Does Tibbs bring a trap to disrupt some of this vision in terms of that lob, that he's able to toss up? It's going to be How are you going to stop this one?
Well, you can't go under, clearly,
Right?
because he can shoot the three-point shot. And when you try to play him up close, you just saw right there, he knows how to draw fouls. He's one of the best in the game at it. In fact, he's one of those guys that does the fender bender fouls where he'll stop short when you get on his hip. He can do that. But if you think about what you said, try to trap, try to bring the big. The bigger issue is that's when Clint Capella comes in and cleans up the easy mess.
100% will demand a top-tier rotation, but maybe it's not a flat-out call to trap every single time, right? Maybe it's a little bit more of a hedge just to kind of keep him off of the three-point line where once he gets inside the three, I mean, the playmaking ability is crazy.
Yeah, and just remember, in that third game, Bill, against the Knicks, the Hawks were up 11, and that pick and roll was working to perfection. Trae Young got hurt, and the Knicks were able to make a push, come back, and win that game.
That's what happened in the third meeting.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's interesting, guys. You talk about Young against the Knicks this year. He shot only 36%. So what do you think about the strategy about trying to continue that? Because he's put up the points, but he didn't shoot well. What did the Knicks do against him?
Well, Alan brought up an outstanding point. Keep him off the free throw line. I mean, he is a parade to the free throw line with the way he flails. He's very smart at getting to the free throw line. So first thing the Knicks have to do is not bail him out. Let him get to that free throw line, make him earn all his points. Because they have defenders that have good size. And I like size on Trae Young. Don't allow him to shoot over guys because he's not very tall. He needs a little bit of floater game to get into the paint in order to get his shot up. If he has someone like Peyton draped all over him, if he has someone like maybe Bullock at times who has size and height, he's going to bother him when he grazes up to shoot. I think the Knicks are going to go with some height on him to make sure he can't get in that lane and see the rim with those floaters.